What is up, my Squirtleites? It is I, your king, welcoming you back to another weekly update. I am so sorry for the little hiatus on these, but a couple things have come up lately, and not to mention I've just been super busy, so it's been very difficult for me to get one of these out, as well as first impressions. But don't worry, both of these are, well, obviously this is, but so is first impressions, returning this week. I also don't have a working webcam anymore. Like, I technically do, but it doesn't sync my audio properly anymore when I record from it, so have to scrap that. So I'm just going to show you guys gameplay of the games I've been playing lately, which are Overwatch and Furi. So real quick, let's start off with talk about the channel. So Bioshock 2 ends this, I think, Thursday or I think it's Thursday. I think it ends, does it? Yes, I think it ends Thursday. And yeah, then that should be the start of Let's Play 50, or at least that's what it was going to be. I actually don't have Let's Play 50 ready yet, but that's not really the reason I'm not going to jump into it immediately. Couple things. One, this weekend I'm actually extremely busy because I'm going to be renovating my entire apartment. My roommate is moving out, so I have to kind of get this entire place set up and looking a lot better, because I'm going to have an office finally, which is fantastic news. Don't get me wrong, it's all great stuff. It's just going to be very hectic, and it's going to make my weekend almost impossible in the way of recording and editing. On top of that, something I've been procrastinating for far too long are bonus videos for Let's Plays I have completed in the past. Yeah, I haven't been doing. I've been really bad about it. And you know what? It's time to start getting to those. So these are things such as showing off the Medal of Honor Rising Sun multiplayer, which can be done alone. Such as the Super Monkey Ball 2 party games, such as the Midnight Club 3 Rockstar logos that are found in each city, such as the Okami Stray Beads checklist, which is almost done but not completely. And then, of course, there are other things that I have to get around to in the future. This probably not going to do immediately, but stuff like finishing Dishonored and Sonic 06, stuff like doing the Luigi run of Super Mario Galaxy, stuff like doing the Green Stars of Super Mario Galaxy 2, even though I said I wasn't going to actually do those, but now I am. There's just so many things I have left to do. Also, the Soul Silver after game stuff, Leaf Green after game stuff that I didn't show, all sorts of stuff. I don't even know if I can do Leaf Green because I don't know if I have that file anymore. But that aside, yeah, there's a ton I still need to do in that regard, so I'm probably going to start tackling some of that before I get into the next Let's Play, which is going to be an indie game. It's going to be a really short indie game, but an indie game nonetheless, just to fill up enough time between the release of Abzu, which is the next game I wanted to do, and then potentially Let's Play number 51. I don't know if that's going to start first, or maybe that's going to replace Fallout. I can't remember. I'm not sure exactly. But we'll see in time. Another thing that I've done recently is you might have noticed it, I've kind of disabled the likes-dislike counter. It's not that, like, oh, I'm butthurt because someone's been disliking my videos. No, it's just that, someone's been habitually disliking my videos lately, and it's just like, I don't want to give them the satisfaction of that. So I just turned it off for the moment. I mean, I'll flip it back on at some point. Might just leave it off for the videos they've been habitually disliking. I don't know. It's just whatever. It's a little bit annoying to, just to have to deal with someone who does something like that. Like, I get it. Cool. Do whatever you want. Click whatever button you want. I mean, if you don't like my videos then and you're repeatedly coming back just to dislike them, then that's your problem, not mine. Clearly, but that aside, I'm just leaving them off for a little bit. Feel free to click whatever button you want. I really don't care. But yeah, those have just been turned off. That's kind of the reason why. That's all you need to know. Yeah, first impressions will definitely be coming back this weekend. I'm going to just be picking what first impressions game I want to do from now on. The voting system is completely gone. I think I've already talked about that, but just wanted to kind of reiterate upon its return. At least the voting system for what the next game is going to be. I'm still going to keep the poll other than whether or not you want to see more of that game in the future. But I'll be picking the games from now on. I'm going to try to switch it up between consoles and whatnot. It's going to be a lot easier to do more consoles now once I have everything set up the way it's supposed to be set up, because I'm going to be getting some like HDMI and AV splitters. There are certain systems I just don't even have hooked up at the moment, such as my Xbox, my Dreamcast, my Super Nintendo, and original Nintendo aren't hooked up. And not to mention my Nintendo 64 is going to be a lot more readily available. I have been able to use it, just not to the full extent that I would like to, because my Elgato is very picky with certain Nintendo 64 games. But soon enough here, I should have other means of recording Nintendo 64 games. I don't know, though. Not completely. We'll see. So, something I've been playing lately, and like I said, I was going to show off the footage for it, is Overwatch and Furi. So, I'm going to talk about Overwatch first, because I've been thinking about making Overwatch videos again, but I'm trying to decide on what I want to do. And something that I've been thinking about doing is kind of doing character spotlight videos, because I'm not really good at Overwatch. I'm not terrible at it, but I'm not I wouldn't say I'm near as good at Overwatch as I am at something like Destiny. And trust me, I'm not amazing at Destiny. I've just had a lot of, thousands of hours of practice put into it, so I'm above average. Overwatch, I would say I'm about average, possibly even below average. I'm not that great at the game. I enjoy it, though, in bursts, not in long sessions, but in short bursts, I really enjoy Overwatch. In long sessions, it tends to frustrate me, but I'd say that's probably true with any multiplayer game. That aside, the thing I love about Overwatch more than the gameplay itself, though, are the characters. I love the heroes. I love their backstories. I love their lore. I love everything about that. Now, unfortunately, Blizzard has been, ever since the launch, been kind of silent in the way of lore and backstory for these heroes, which makes me kind of sad, because I think that's the stuff I enjoy the most, like the animated shorts and all the little tidbits of information they release. But something I was thinking about doing is, and if you've ever seen I'm not ripping off their idea, I just kind of wanted to, as a comparison, talk about the channel, The Decks. They do stuff on Pokemon where they'll talk about the Pokemon itself, what it's based on, they'll give facts about it, then they'll do a little segment for it, and then they'll show how to use it effectively. I was thinking I could probably do something similar with Overwatch Heroes, where I just kind of talked about, again, like I talked about their backstory, shared some really interesting details about them, maybe showed off a couple cool little known facts and whatnot, something interesting, maybe how they fit into the lore of it all, and then showed how to use them effectively. Like, not saying I'm super good at it, but I can definitely still tell how to use them effectively based on how the way I've learned, to play them, and then also, of course, by watching other people play them. I mean, you don't have to be super good to be analytical about something, So I've been thinking about making videos like that. I don't know yet. We'll see if I can compile enough gameplay of certain heroes and whatnot. Then yeah, I think I might start doing that, because I think that would be a lot of fun to do. And then there's Furi. Furi is currently, at the moment, one of the free games for PlayStation Plus, and I highly recommend you get it now, because this is not going to be a $15 indie game when it goes back to full price. It's actually going to be $25. Now, some people have argued, oh, that's a ripoff. It's actually not. If you've played through this entire game, you'd realize that it gives you plenty enough content to merit $25. Trust me. I would say, I mean, if you can speed through it and after on multiple playthroughs, then yeah, you can beat the game in 3 to 4 hours. But on your first playthrough, this game is going to take you 10 plus hours. I can almost guarantee you. It is a challenging game. Extremely challenging game. So Furi is kind of a hack and slash and bullet hell, kind of a hybrid of the two, mixed together into one game, and it's just a boss rush game. All you do is fight bosses. There's a little bit of exposition between bosses. It's very vague exposition, but exposition nonetheless about your character and story and whatnot. And that's really it. And then you fight the bosses. And each of the bosses, for the most part, are pretty darn similar in the way they act. There are a few changes here and there, but for the most part, they're very similar. They'll have first their open phase, which is basically in a big arena, and their arenas are all very different. They all require you to think very differently. Some will have massive arenas that take up a lot of space. A lot of arenas will just take up the screen and that's it. They won't go outside that area any further. And then, you'll be fighting the boss in that space, and then you'll get them down a health bar, and then you'll be fighting them up really close in a very confined, claustrophobic space, where you basically have to only dodge or parry their attacks. You can't just get away from it. And then they'll have multiple phases to them, and usually the last phase will result in a straight bullet hell phase, where you have to only avoid things and wait and just survive, and then get that final hit off. That's how they play out for the most part. There are definitely exceptions, but every single one of them challenges you in different ways. They are all more progressively difficult. I can definitely say there were certain ones earlier on that I struggled with more than some of the later bosses. Like, for instance, boss 3 actually took me about 4 full tries before I was able to get it down. Because it was a very non-direct fight for the most part. For the most part, it was just straight bullet hell, and it was just getting that opportunity to get a hit. And then there were certain fights like 5 and 7, which are much later on, that I only took 1 or 2 tries to do. But regardless, they all make you better. They make you learn. They require a little bit of patience, obviously, because it is not an easy game. But I think what separates it from a game like such as Dark Souls, where it's a lot of, it's not exclusively about the bosses, but it is about mostly bosses, and it is about learning from your mistakes and whatnot. I think the thing I like about this game much more than a game like that is this game is quick and responsive, and it's constant action. It's not, you don't feel the weight in anything. It's actually more about just pulling off those satisfying parries and executing moves perfectly in those quick dodges and whatnot. It's much faster. And requires you to think on your toes, which is why I won't be able to probably let's play this game if I were to do so. And if I did let's play it, I'd probably have to do a post commentary, because trying to commentate while also focusing on this game would be nearly impossible. Even though I know how to beat all the bosses now, it would still be almost impossible. It requires so much focus to play this game the way it should be played and to do it well that I'd probably have to post-commentate everything. But what I've been thinking about doing instead is actually just doing guides on how to fight each boss. And maybe also going into the story of the game and whatnot, because the story is actually interesting, and it has some very cool endings. In fact, there is a way you can actually even end the game before you even see the second half of the bosses. I know, it's really cool. The game has a lot of interesting mechanics to it. You can totally tell that it's got inspiration from people like Hideo Kojima. I almost said Keiji Inafune. I didn't want to say him. I'm gonna get shot for this. The guy who is behind Castlevania, like him as well. You can see inspiration in them, and in fact, they even mention them in the credits of the game. Inspiration from those guys in these games. And the art style is from the same person who did Afro Samurai, which I'm not an anime guy, but I do know that as a very striking art style, and it definitely translates for the most part pretty well here. I would say on PS4 it definitely has some issues. Like there's actually a few frame rate hiccups, which weren't really a problem in most of the fights, but there's this particular fight towards the very end of the game that it really did cause some problems, especially because the frame rate tended to dip more than that fight than any other fight. And there will be some, you'll sometimes see some interlacing issues, which is really strange in a game in this day and age. But it's very sparse. You don't see it very often. It's just that when it does come up, it can be quite frustrating. I haven't really tried out the PC version myself, so I can't really say if it's any better, but I've heard nothing but good things, almost nothing but good things. But all I can really say is it's a very tough game, but I'm not a person who's really into tough games, so, I consider that a pretty good recommendation if I can say I really enjoyed this game. And I did. I would actually even put it up there as one of my top 5 games of the year so far, maybe even top 3. Thinking about even putting it at number 1. I'm not sure yet. Were it not for a very particular moment of frustration I had, it probably would be my number 1. But other than that, it's a very, very good game, and I highly recommend it. And you're seeing gameplay of it up here. I think this is you're going to get gameplay of, I think, numbers 4 and 8. We won't talk about 8, but nonetheless, at least you'll get to see me beat it, which is some sense of gratification. Thank goodness. Oh my gosh. I'll get into that in another video, but I do want to do something about it. I want to show off some sort of videos about it, because it's a very good game, and honestly, not getting the attention it deserves, I feel. I feel like a lot of people are glossing over it because, it's just another free PS Plus game, another game that came out and was free its first month, so obviously it's not that great. Actually, no. I'm willing to say this is one of the best games of the year, which is saying a lot, because I honestly believe so far 2016 is arguably the greatest year we've had in gaming ever. I know, and we still have more to come. But so far, this year has been pretty consistently on point with its game releases, save for a couple hiccups here and there, such as The Division and Far Cry Primal. But for the most part, it's been a pretty awesome year. So yeah, that's saying something. Anyway, that's pretty much all I had to talk about for this weekly update. I'm going to try to get these weekly again, I promise. I'll just be showing gameplay of something if I can. Probably see a lot of Overwatch footage on these because, I don't know. It really depends on what I record. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all enjoyed this video very, very much. And I will see you all in the next one.